Last summer, my family and I spent a week hiking in the Porcupine Mountains, and several of our hikes were along or around the Big Carp River. Each of the hikes that we did was really well marked with trail markers. You'd follow one blue blaze trail marker on a tree to the next one. And on one of the hikes that we did, I had a favorite hiking moment where we approached the Big Carp River and we saw a blaze on the other side of the river. Now, Drew is often the leader of our hikes, and he turned to look at me with a, "Now what do we do, Dad?" sort of face. And my family, we gathered at the bank of the Carp River and we looked longingly at the opposite bank over 30 feet away, and I just started laughing. "What do we do now, guys?" I asked between my giggles. "How are we going to get across?" My family looked at me mystified. "Oh, Dad, where is the bridge?" Now, as a side note, I should mention that I planned all of our hikes, and I knew that this section of the hike was coming up, but no one else in my family knew about it. So while I'm still continuing to chuckle to myself, I told my family, well, we're going to need to wade across the river. We're going to ford the Big Carp. There were some sighs and some groans as we took off our socks and we took off our shoes and we got in the water and we waded across that river, and it never got more than 18 or so inches deep. It wasn't too bad, and you'll be happy to know that we made it. We made it across, we got dried out, we got our socks and shoes back on, and we successfully completed our hike. Now, that experience from this past summer got me thinking about bridges. You see, we wanted to get to the opposite side of the river, and each of the other times we'd crossed the Big Carp River, there'd been a bridge there that helped connect the two sides of the river. And we just walked across the bridge, and it was really easy because someone else had done the hard work of building a bridge for us to cross. And so when we had to cross that river, even in shallow water, it was way more work. It ended up being one of the more memorable hiking moments of our trip. And that led me to ask, well, what if the water had been deeper? I mean, we crossed in late July, and how about that water was much colder and deeper and faster earlier in the spring and in the summer? We likely wouldn't have been able to cross that river without a bridge at those times of year. Today we're kicking off a series called Be the Bridge, and while we're not really talking about literal bridges necessarily, which would have made that river crossing much easier, we are going to be talking throughout this series about the metaphorical ones, the bridges that connect us as human beings. And each week we'll use a bridge story or metaphor to show the importance of bridge building, because well, often we're alone, often we're disconnected. All too often there's a chasm between one another, often caused by differences or perceived differences. And well, often those differences and the lack of a bridge, it's caused harm. So harm that we're going to work together to correct throughout this series. Here's our first question for discussion. What does the idea of being a bridge mean to you? Let's discuss that.